All right, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to the show. Today's guest, you might have heard him before if you're a Patreon subscriber. Actually, guys, if you don't mind, if I can plug this real quick, subscribe to the show on Patreon if you don't mind. $5 a month. We're doing a show every single day, a 20 to 40-minute episode with different guests. That's my only income right now, folks. If you have the money, if you can kick me a couple bucks on Patreon for some content, I would really appreciate it. All I'm doing is that podcast, and then I'm going back to I'm doing that and moving, for a little bit. So I would appreciate that. And also, you can Venmo me Michael dash Recine dash 2 if you want to kick me some money. My guest today is someone who probably knows me better than any guest we've ever had on. It's my brother Steve.
Hey everybody.
All right, you want to give us a little background on
Uh,
who you are? We've podcasted together a couple times. We've done we've done the premium episodes together. But you're my brother. You're 2 years younger than me. You have asthma and you haven't left your house. Have you left your house yet?
no, still haven't left. Last time I was outside was March 13th.
Yeah. Yeah. How is that?
Uh, it's fine.
You're not losing your mind?
But, well, no, because even if there weren't a global pandemic going on, it
Yeah.
would still be springtime,
Yeah.
and my allergies are so bad that I would be inside most of the time anyway.
Right.
So that hasn't changed too much.
Yeah.
Um, you know, it's sort of been this dilemma of like, okay, I can get all these things delivered like groceries and essentials, but
Mhm.
I'm putting other people at risk
Yeah.
to do it, and I feel pretty bad about it.
Yeah. So you
But
started like making you started like making your own beer and stuff and just like fermenting hot
I have
sauce.
I haven't even had a drop of alcohol this whole time.
Mhm.
Um, but and I haven't resorted to making my own bread yet.
Uh-huh.
I haven't sunk that low yet.
Because
But
right, cuz if you get the virus, it'll be kind of bad, right?
yeah, so I'm one of those people. I just realized like that term immunocompromised.
Mhm.
I always thought it was like horseshit, but I guess I'm technically one of those people. Like I get sick very easily. I have a history of asthma.
Mhm.
Um, uh, I've been hospitalized before with like chest congestion, pneumonia, and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
rather than risk it, I've just been playing it safe.
Right.
And
Do
plus,
you,
we my apartment. We're just a couple blocks away from New York Presbyterian, the
uh-huh.
up at Columbia.
Right.
So, um, rather than risk it, I've just been playing it safe and staying inside.
Do you have any plans to go outside, or is there? I mean, what do you think is going to happen in the near
Well,
future?
well,
How long
the
you
more
think
I'm
you're going to ride this out?
the more I'm reading about stuff, it seems like it's okay to go out if you can social distance.
Yeah.
The problem is that we live right across the street from a park, so anytime the weather's nice,
Yeah.
the park's always filled. It's hard to social distance in New York anyway.
Yeah.
Um, but it seems like the biggest factor in getting the virus is like hand to hand contact and like
Yeah.
being around that stuff. Like you're not going to get it from packaging or you
Is that
know
true?
it's very low on their risk. Like
Yeah.
they're still figuring out everything, but it seems like you know there was one epidemiologist who was saying that even if you were walking past someone and they sneezed on you,
Uh huh.
they would have to like sneeze right in your face,
Uh huh.
or they'd have to like sneeze in your hand, and then you'd have to immediately touch your face to risk contracting it.
Right.
But
Right.
like I don't want to downplay the severity of it because
You don't want to downplay it, but it is kind of getting to the point where it's like I think a lot of people are sort of like, all right, what's going to happen here? Like, what are we doing? What's the plan?
right. And
And I mean,
it's
you
a
can't just keep fingering yourself to Cuomo every time that he comes on. Like people are getting sick of that.
I still can't get over that, like, the response on the federal level is so bad that
Uh-huh.
Cuomo looks good.
Yeah.
You
It
know,
is
like he's still a mook.
right.
Like he's still slashing Medicaid and Medicare
He's still a fucking
and
Wonderbread
doing
Wop.
bullshit.
He's still a
Yeah.
Wonderbread Wop who probably hates himself and hates the mafia like Giuliani. you know?
Yeah. No,
Um,
but the fact that all it takes is to speak the truth, admit that like we don't know everything, to like play it safe,
yeah.
to like be even just slightly empathetic to
Yeah.
people is enough to make you seem like a political god.
It is weird
Um,
because there's like two takes on the Cuomo thing. There's like and I talked about this on a Patreon episode yesterday. But there's two
uh,
takes on it. There's people who are like I mean there's two if you're on the left there's two takes and there's people who are like I want to like there's like the SNL crowd who's like I want to drink his load. You know, I mean, like literally, SNL did a sketch, which that fucking bums me out when they do that. I don't know what they're doing, but that this like worship of politicians, um, when you see somebody like, somebody like Cecily Strong, who's like a really talented like a legitimately very talented person, and then she did a sketch where she was playing the governor of Michigan, and she made some joke about how like Cuomo's nickname is Daddy Cuomo, and then Gavin Newsom's nickname is like Choke Me King or something. And it's like this is literal propaganda that you're doing, and it's such a bummer.
well, yeah, no, it is. I mean, otherwise, like we wouldn't be so in love with these people. But it just goes to show that like
It's
I think
bizarre, right?
all people want from their politicians is just boredom,
Yeah,
just like some modicum of decorum or and just like even keel. Like
yeah,
uh, I don't think Cuomo's presidential material. I don't think he
yeah,
can be anyway because he is Italian.
yeah. They'll put a
Um,
fucking bullet in his head. You know what I mean? We'll never have an Italian president in this country. They'd murder him. That's what Jeffrey Joseph, a friend of mine, was on an episode of Sopranos. He played the FBI agent that escorts Johnny Sack to his
yeah,
daughter's wedding,
yeah.
and he said that like he was like, yeah, the scene took a long time, so all the actors were like talking and stuff, and he said that all the Italian actors were like, we'd never have an Italian president, they'd kill him, and he was like, oh, this is like the same thing we talk about. He's like, well, when you talk about it, it's because Jeffrey's black, but he's like, but I'm like, yeah, when you talk about it, there's probably some more legitimacy to that.
Right,
Um,
right. Well, yeah, there haven't been that many prominent
yeah.
Italian politicians anyway
Yeah.
that weren't corrupt as
I
hell.
just love that there's like CIA guys in a van and it's like President Mastriano. I don't think so. We got to take him out, boys. We got to take the guinea. Get the guinea. Operation Get the Guinea. um, but I
Oh
also
yeah,
want to say that like Cuomo's his speeches and stuff, like I feel like it's not worth nothing, Like as much as I want to
right.
be cynical and everything, it is kind of nice to see someone. I don't know if nice is the right word, but it is sort of like it's comforting to see someone like in charge,
Right.
someone who's in charge.
That's all people want.
That's all
And
people
it's
want.
not
Yeah,
like and any Trump supporter will say like, "Oh, he's acting in charge," but that's not
yeah,
the like as soon in I was reading something about how like in a public health emergency, it's also a communications emergency
uh
that
huh,
you have to be so careful about what you say
yeah.
because if you say
Right. You
anything
can't be like De
that has been
Blasio.
proven wrong,
Uh huh.
then you lose all credibility.
Well, you
And
can't be like De Blasio being like, "Listen up, Jews. You better get your act together."
well, that dumb motherfucker, like even on March 12th, he was saying like, look, if you don't have symptoms or whatever, like keep going about your life. And
Really?
granted, like everybody was
And
parroting
people
that
were
because
doing that. Yeah.
all the available information to them, was saying
Was
that
what was through federal?
you didn't have to do it. But even De Blasio, like when they closed gyms, and the very next day, there's a picture of him at the Park Slope Y,
Yeah.
and it's like as soon as you do that, you just lose all like you can't trust anything they say. And then he
Yeah.
and Cuomo are still managing to bicker
Uh huh.
throughout this whole thing,
Uh huh.
and yeah, it's like all people want is someone that they know is just like stating facts.
Yeah.
That's why like everyone fell in love with Fauci because he's just a doctor.
Yeah.
Like all he's talking about are what he's qualified to speak about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
It's crazy because then it's kind of like, and look, I don't like to talk about Trump that much, but when you watch Trump speak, it kind of makes you go like, okay, fuck leaders. You know what? I don't ever want a leader again. Let's go back to being in tribes where we all just kind of govern
right,
each other. Let's make this
right.
Somalia. Let's just make this a libertarian paradise where it's like, yep, my apartment, my family, my guns, my fucking cans of beans. You know, like I think that's kind of what that is going to lead to. It's just which is kind of, I don't know, maybe that's the way that it should be. Maybe we just got to say,
Well,
like, no more
so
leaders.
if you start talking about like, oh well, the president's not going to solve everything. It should be up to the states.
Yeah.
But again, like the situation is a pandemic,
Yeah.
and
Right, so
you know,
everything's
like
interconnected.
right. Well, I mean, if you leave it all up to states, states start bidding against one another
Mhm.
for medical supplies,
Right. And
and
then some states have more money.
yeah, and then I mean that's not even talking about the fact that the federal government has been like hijacking purchases that states have been making to add to the quote unquote stockpile.
Right. You just
But
imagine some guy in Wyoming being like, "Son, I guess there's going to be no more ventilators for our entire state. California, those homosexuals in California took all of them." And that kid just grows up to hate yeah.
but yeah, I mean, there's also
He
something to
just
be
shows up to
said about
protest.
like
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say there's something to be said about states can enact their own policies and stuff, but because obviously the situation in New York is different than the situation in Topeka, Kansas,
Yeah.
but it's still a
But it can
contagious
still blow
disease
up.
that's
Right. It can
killing
still
people.
blow up there, right? I mean, it can still get pretty bad, it seems like.
Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah.
the only like people keep pointing out like, oh, Florida reopened their beaches and things, and
Yeah.
there haven't been spikes in cases, but they've been actively like not reporting numbers.
Uh huh.
Like they've decided that they're not reporting the numbers that the coroner's putting out every day. So you know, we don't know. That's like this is the most frustrating thing about it, that we don't know exactly what the hell is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were to go based off of what Jared Kushner's saying, or governors of some of these states that want to reopen,
Mm-hmm.
you would think that like, oh yeah, it's just the flu, like we can go back.
Mm-hmm.
And then that gets into the whole thing about apparently like a good number of us are comfortable with people dying.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know when that became the thing of like, well, people are going to die anyway, so if it's because
Well,
of this,
yeah, it's the elderly though.
right? But you know, I was just talking to our elderly grandmother yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
and she was saying that we can't be afraid. I'm going to keep going out,
Yeah.
and I guess it's going to take like someone close to them dying to give a shit.
Yeah, but someone close to them already did.
Yeah, and what was their response? Well, she's old. She was going to die
That's
anyway.
what Andrea. Yeah, that's what Andrea said. That she said she was like, "Oh, yeah, she was old. That's what happens."
I mean, that's terrible. We're like laughing about this,
Yeah,
but
but I
it's
guess that's how
just
you. I guess that's how you go through life when you've lived where like no one has ever helped you with anything. You know that's kind of like the ideology that you adopt. I don't know. I just thought it was funny.
yeah.
I got that text from mom, and she was like, "Aunt Fran died." They'll say it's COVID, but who knows? And I was like, "So it's not. So it's COVID or it's not?" And she's like, "Well, she tested positive, and then she took hydrochloroquine, and she felt better. So I don't know." It's
And
like,
then she died, so
right?
it could have. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's what a coincidence that she had COVID, and then she took the cure that Trump was pushing, and then she died, and then it cured her, and then she died right after. What a bummer, you know.
Yeah. Well,
But what are you gonna do?
that's depressing. Yeah.
Was it funny the first time that you heard Cuomo talk? Like, because I thought he was like more of like a tough guy, but he's like, and nah, he sounds like a guy who like makes,
Yeah.
he sounds like a guy who like makes candy for a living or something, or like makes stuff out of
Yeah, his
wood.
voice. When like
Ah,
I haven't been listening to him too much, but like
yeah.
when you see
There's
pictures of
something
him
funny about it.
and then you hear his voice, yeah, you don't expect it.
Yeah.
It also doesn't help that he has to like he's talking science,
Mm-hmm.
and he just doesn't seem like equipped to be talking about that anyway. I don't know. I feel like there are clips
Maybe
of
that's
him
just your.
talking where
Maybe
he
that's just
sounds like a
your.
full. What's that?
Maybe that's just your Italian like self-hatred or something.
Maybe,
You know,
but like there have been like I've seen videos of him talking, and he sounds like a full on like you know
like kind of a brute.
guinea tough guy.
Oh, you think
But
maybe this is like put on or something?
yeah, I think he is the benefit. Like people are talking to him about how to appear.
Yeah.
Like I was reading something about how
Because
that
Phil
one time
Phil
he like
Murphy's a fucking man's man. You know, the governor of Jersey. I kind of like him. He's got like a deeper voice. He's very masculine. Like
yeah
he's
yeah
probably
yeah
one of those
yeah.
older guys who's jacked. You know, who's secretly jacked. He's like Gaston.
Yeah, well, it's weird. Like he's got the receding hairline though, so when we're talking about what we want in a leader looks wise,
Yeah.
like he would have been great on radio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Do you remember that Mad TV sketch where it was like they were making fun of like those like they're making fun of like Sean Connery in playing like a romantic lead, and it was like Sean Connery and some younger actress. This is kind of off topic, but it was
Yeah.
Sean Connery and some younger actress, and he's like, and she like rips his shirt open, and he's got like that. He looks like an old
Oh
man.
yeah. Oh
He's
yeah.
got like white chest hair. I guess they found some kind of stand-in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they got to bring that show back. But yeah, I don't know. There's something about his voice where it's like, because his brother Chris is like kind of a tough guy. He's a little bit of a tough guy, you know. When he's
Yeah,
like,
but
"Don't
he's
call me
also
Fredo,
like,
that's the N word."
but he's also like, he's one of those guys that like he's always posting about his workouts and his
Yeah, yeah.
body. Like
Uh-huh.
his
And he's
perception
like
of being a man
52.
is so wrapped up in his workout routines.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right. And he's like
Sound
probably
like
this.
someone we know, Mike?
Who? Me?
You
I don't post about my workouts.
really?
Well,
I mean, don't get me wrong. I like it. Like you're kicking ass. You're setting a good example of how to work out in quarantine.
you're not a former
But
fat kid, so you don't know what it's like.
that's true. Yeah, yeah. I was blessed with a high metabolism, and I could just eat cake and candy all day and not gain any weight.
Yeah, and look at you now. You're skinny fat. You're gonna be one of those guys. You're gonna be really skinny with a gut.
With a gut.
Yeah. Yeah, when we were kids, my brother just got to eat like as much dessert as he wanted to. He would eat like 2 ice cream bars, and no one would say anything. And if I took like an extra helping of pasta, I'd get yelled at, shamed. But I showed them. I'll fucking bench press our whole family right now. Some, sometimes I do think about just putting Dad in a headlock, you know?
Yeah, because you can.
Because I can, yeah. Sleeping over
The
or
other
something.
day I was talking to him, and if you ask them, they never hit us.
Yeah. Well, what can you
I
do?
just found. Well, yeah, no, I just found it funny. He's like, I don't remember hitting you, and I'm like, oh, really? I have a memory of you beating the shit out of Mike with a
Look,
belt
I don't
when he was
remember.
under the covers.
I don't remember taking off my Ralph Lauren braided brown belt with the silver buckle that was dragging him out from under a bed and hitting him with the belt a few times. Yeah. Hey, whatever. It made me
Oh, anyway,
strong. That's why I'm
yeah,
not a
that's
fucking
right.
pussy.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? You know what's funny? Being hit. I think I've said this before, but being hit as a kid actually makes you a pussy because you're afraid of like getting the shit beaten out of you. You know, like if your order comes
Oh yeah,
out,
or
you're afraid.
you're just afraid of confrontation.
You're afraid of any little confrontation. I'm like
Yeah.
really afraid of confrontation, and
Oh, same.
I have certain friends that like they're just like, oh yeah, I don't want to pay for this. You know, they're like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to pay for this or whatever, or they have no problem like, you know, do it like asserting themselves, and I'm just like,
Oh yeah.
please no, don't hit me.
Or the idea of
Anyway,
like, I want to speak to your manager,
yeah,
or berating a sales employee.
yeah,
Like part of that is also like I've worked those jobs, so
yeah,
I know like I shouldn't be getting mad at this person. They're just doing their job.
uh
But
huh,
it's also a matter of like I'm just afraid of making someone angry.
yeah. Well, at
Um,
least they didn't molest us. Am I right?
that's right.
Could have been worse. I want to say my parents, Barbara and
That's
Robert
true.
Recine never molested me.
Yeah, I commend them for that
Yeah.
because we are good-looking kids.
Yeah, we were. um, but yeah, but anyway, so the things, so yeah, but Cuomo is. We'll talk about this for a little more, and then we'll move on. But Cuomo is
Okay.
funny because every other report that I've heard about him, like I literally remember a thing where there was some article in AM New York or something, one of those free papers, where it's like Governor Cuomo, if and knowing what his voice sounds like now makes this much funnier. So it was
Yeah.
like Governor Cuomo : if you don't like the subway, maybe you should drive a car. Like him him
Yeah.
him saying that in
Yeah.
his like kind of
Yeah.
ninny voice is very funny. Why don't you just get a hoverboard like all those like those
Wait. When did he say the thing about you should drive a car?
It was years ago, but I just remember it was like,
Oh God.
and I think it was in the New York Post too. So it was probably, it was probably Uncle Brian's favorite newspaper. It was probably like
Yeah.
misquoted. It's so funny when he's like, "You guys ever want to read a great newspaper? Check out the New York Post." But yeah. If you don't want to ride the subway, maybe drive a car. And then it's like it seems like he's been on the wrong side of every like policy. Like he's kind of like I've always
Well,
heard
he's
him
part of
describe.
he's a picture of like the political machine.
Yeah,
I mean, like
yeah,
if you want to talk about like someone who represents the status quo,
yeah. It's also so
it's someone
funny.
whose dad was a
Right.
politician.
It's so funny that like his dad was the governor and then he gets to be the governor. Like he's just like, "It's my turn now. Can I can I be the governor now? It's me, the little remember me, Andy Cuomo? I want to run the state." You know? But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it's amazing like what uh, a crisis can do for people.
Yeah, it
And
is.
I'd argue that like his popularity is due more to the fact like it's by default
By default, yeah.
because no one else like is stepping
I
up.
know. All these wine moms are like, "I diddle myself to you every night. Please run for president. Please, I can't stop touching my pussy every time you come on TV. I want you to be president, Mr. Cuomo, so I can jack off to you every day." The other thing too that was fun, like this is like in this vein. Remember when Elizabeth
Yeah.
Warren? Remember when she like dropped out and she didn't support Bernie because she was busy like having a spa day or whatever she was putting on
Yeah.
she was putting
Yeah.
on a
Yeah.
face mask or whatever. And so she didn't drop out and endorse Bernie, but she went on SNL. And then everybody was like, "Just want to let you know, this is what you guys missed out on." Like, yeah, I guess I would have loved to see the fucking president on Saturday Night Live every week with Kate McKinnon,
Yeah.
like yucking it up. You
Or yeah,
fucking
I saw
babies.
someone like reposted a video of her dog Bailey, and they're
Hmm.
like, "We could have had Bailey as the first dog, y'all."
Y'all, yeah, and it's a white woman. Bailey is the
Gives
first.
a shit.
Dude, there's some photo of like when she dropped out, when she like finally dropped out. I think I have the most contempt for her because when she finally fucking dropped out, they were like, "Oh, Bailey didn't really want to leave the campaign office," which is like, which they forgot to hide the chain that around Bailey's neck. Um, just literal fucking animal abuse. But the girl who was I'm gonna try to find the picture and send it to you because the girl who was carrying Bailey had this fucking look in her eyes like she was in a cult or something, like it was Handmaid's Tale. She looked like somebody from
Wait, is it from her concession speech
yeah,
or whatever?
yeah. And there's this blonde girl carrying her out, and the look in this girl's eyes is like, wow, someone needs to be airlifted into that campaign office and rescue her and bring her back to her parents.
Well,
Tired of
well,
it,
all right, all right. Let me challenge you on that for a second
All right.
because every single office has those
Steve's
people for
in-laws
that
are
can't like.
liberal, by the way, so he's gonna challenge me.
No, I think you're like a little too hard on her, and I know that's
Yes,
pointless.
I know
I
you
know
think
that's
that. I
pointless
know you
saying it
think
to a
that, and I don't think I
comedian
am.
because some of the stuff was ripe for comedy.
Mm-hmm.
But if it wasn't going to be Bernie,
Mm-hmm.
it, isn't she the next logical pick out of the field that they
She
put out there?
yes.
Like yeah, okay, she said some like goofy stuff, but
Uh-huh.
she didn't say anything I don't that like warranted her being no pun intended that like didn't warrant her being public enemy number one.
But who's worse? Like the person who looks you in the eye and says like "fuck you, I don't like you, I'm your enemy," or someone who masquerades as your friend? Because it seems like she is establishment to her core. She has no principles, and she was pretending to be on our side when she never was.
Because she hedged on Medicare for all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's
She
not
just
like she
seems like
out and out
someone who is
did.
just a careerist and just has no like real principles. And I think that
Okay,
people
all
can
right.
that's pretty transparent. And people can understand and sense that. And I think that's why she sunk in the
Okay,
polls
but
as much as she did.
there's also part of it, Mike. And this is setting aside like I love Bernie, you know, most of all,
Yeah, go ahead.
but just setting it aside, like at this point, if we're gonna put a career politician in, like the people that have a career in politics, let's just put them back in because at least they know what the fuck they're doing. Like and if she, I don't think she was as transparent as someone say like Pete
All
Buttigieg
right, I know,
or Kamala Harris.
but at least with Buttigieg, you go, okay, I know this guy's full of shit. Like this guy's full of shit, and he's beholden to whatever. He's CIA. He's not even a homosexual. He's pretending to, he's pretending to be a gay man to be president. He's a fucking secret agent. He kills dogs. Like you can see all that with him. But
Yeah,
with her, it's almost like I feel like fuck, like I trusted you, and that to me that makes it
but
worse. Also, I got to interrupt you.
but yeah,
Well, I got
yeah,
to
sure.
interrupt you just with a little humorous point here. She fed a
Yeah.
dog a burrito. I fucking love my dog. I would never feed him a burrito. There's so much shit in that burrito. I mean, I give Frankie people food all the time, and yes, sometimes it is seasoned, a little because I do season pretty aggressively. But I would never give Frankie a fucking like Chipotle burrito. You don't know what's in that thing. That dog's gonna be having diarrhea like all over the place.
Okay, well then she'll have to deal with it.
No, but
It's
you're
not
gonna
like
hurt your
Bailey's
dog.
coming over to take a shit on your lawn.
The problem is that campaign was run for like 4% of people who are just have been lobotomized by like Harry Potter, and it's all focus groups. And she probably did a Google search. You know what she probably did? Oh, we found out Bailey likes burritos. She probably found like, hey, what's the food that women ages 18 to 29 are tweeting about the most? And it just happens to be it's like burrito. And then like pizza is number 2 by like a thin margin. And she's okay, burrito. Let's fucking feed my dog a burrito. Like that was not. How do you find out that your dog likes burritos? Unless you're nuts and you're feeding it to them. She put a burrito, Steve. She put a burrito on her carpet and let her dog eat it. That
Okay.
to me that says I'm gonna kill you and your entire family, and I don't give a fuck what happens.
But not the part about how like she was willing to like explicitly say she was going to tax the fuck out of the rich and make corporations pay their fair share. Like the stuff
But would she?
the stuff that would normally get a candidate run out of town
Mm-hmm.
from the Democratic Party that she was saying this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see how it would have been so bad.
All right,
And
think
at
about
least she
this.
was she was consistent. And
Yeah.
you want to say that she used to be
She
a
was
Republican?
consistent.
She's consistent in who she's like who her policies are benefiting.
Yeah.
Like anybody that's not talking about taxing the fuck out of the rich
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't deserve a microphone.
Yeah, sure.
So outside of her and Bernie, who
Do you
was
think she
willing to
would've-
like
do you
explicitly
think-
say, yeah, I think she would have.
Do you think she
I don't
would
know
have
if it
done
would
it?
have gotten.
Do you think she
I don't
would've
know if
done
it would have gotten done.
But she would have stuck
I don't
to
know if it would have got.
because that is kind of big. That wealth tax. I mean, that is big.
Yeah.
Right?
anything,
Yeah.
anything, and yes, there was the case of her saying like we're not taking any corporate money, but there were super PACs
Mm-hmm.
that were benefiting her. But you know, super PACs technically, like, I don't know.
I just feel like
I
anybody who
see your
feeds it
point, but I don't understand like the
because
level
because
to
Steve,
that you.
you're making the and you're right. Like I mean maybe I am a little too hard on her. I just feel like anybody who feeds a burrito to a dog and puts it on their carpet does not know what the fuck they're doing, and they can be easily manipulated because they have no principles and they can just there's no like foundation there of who they are. So
Okay.
so somebody who does that can be convinced to do anything.
Okay.
I mean, you're feeding your dog like melted cheese, which I can't imagine is good. I mean, uh, probably what happened was she was like, "Okay, cut," and Ron, her husband that she fucking proposed to, which also kind of bugs me. She's like, "Why don't you take Bailey out to the garage for a few days?" And then, I mean, she probably like, you know what I mean? Like, she probably had it tied up in a shed after that,
I don't.
so it could just leak
I don't know
diarrhea
about that,
everywhere.
but it's good to know where. It's good to know your priorities are. What these people feed their dogs.
I think Bailey. No, because that's indicative of their character.
But
Anyway,
the dog's not hurt.
I see your
Yeah.
point. Um,
Yeah.
Okay, fine. I get your point.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah, and then I got a question for you. Go ahead.
Would you be upset if she was VP?
I don't care. But
Well,
she won't be. But she won't be. She won't be.
Right.
He's
right.
gonna pick. He's gonna pick. He's gonna pick like somebody like Klobuchar, who's gonna get asked about his rapes like every other
Right.
day, and she's gonna go,
Right.
"Oh, I don't know. I mean, back when I was a senator, you could just people put their fingers in me all the time." She sounds like she's drunk.
That's just how we do it in the Midwest.
I might start working on an Amy Klobuchar impression actually.
Yeah, you should.
Or
yeah.
Because she's kind of like this.
I just.
She sounds like she's on something. But anyway, here's the last thing I want to ask you. Right, think back to season 2 of Sopranos. Right? Didn't you just rewatch the show?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, season 2 of Sopranos.
I recommend it for anyone out there. It's better than anything else.
What?
Out there right now?
Season 2?
The Sopranos.
Oh.
Just rewatching The Sopranos.
This has been Bold Takes with Steve Recine.
Okay. All right.
Watch The Sopranos.
All right, go on. Season 2 of The Sopranos.
Right. So all right, so you have two main antagonists, right, in Sopranos in season 2. You have Richie Aprile, and then you have, of course, now I'm going to spoil this, so go ahead and fast forward this about a minute now if you don't want to hear, if you haven't seen the show. But the other antagonist in Sopranos, fast forward the show now, go ahead about a minute, is Tony's best friend, Sal, Big Pussy Bompensiero, who, as we find out, is wearing a wire the whole time and is informing on all his friends. And, it's like there's a scene where there's Tony's kid's confirmation, and he's AJ's sponsor, which is like a big. I guess in Catholicism that's a big deal. Whoever sponsors your confirmation, like mine was Poppy.
Oh yeah,
right. I don't know who yours was. Was yours Poppy as well?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
It's just like sponsor. You just pick like your favorite person who's not your parent to sponsor you. You know.
Right. Well, it's like, wouldn't that be the role of the godfather or godmother? But anyway, go on.
Yeah. So it's like a big deal. Maybe he was the godfather. I don't know. But anyway, so yeah. Then you have. So it's like. So I guess my question for you is: Richie Aprile was just like, yeah, I'm an asshole. I'm here to antagonize you. Fuck you. I don't care. I want what's mine. I don't like Tony Soprano. I'm gonna make things difficult for him. He's like, I'm your enemy. Richie Aprile is the K-Hive. You know. They go. The K-Hive goes. The Kamala people.
Oh.
They go, fuck you, you're a piece of shit. We love power. We're bloodthirsty. We'll lock up whoever we have to lock up to get what we want. and we're gonna step over you, and we're nasty, and like we don't care. And at least you can look at somebody like that and go, okay, I kind of respect you a little bit because. You know what I mean? I respect you because you're
honest about
because you are who you say you are. Yeah.
Right.
And then Elizabeth Warren is big pussy.
No, she's not.
It hurts. It hurts a little more that you trusted her.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
All right. We should. If you give me more time to prep,
okay,
this would be a lot better. But we should do something.
I mean, I
like
didn't know we were going to talk about this.
Who the candidates are, because I would argue that
the election's over.
That
so
Kamala's more
country.
like she's more like
she's
big pussy.
Kamala's big pussy.
That she says she's all for this stuff, but her record and her actions say the opposite.
And she killed a guy with a hammer.
Really? That's pretty impressive.
No, but pussy did. But I could see her doing that. Yeah.
But I think
with Warren though, it's like I fucking trusted you, and then she lied about Bernie and said that he, said that a woman could never be president, and she's just full of shit, and she's a fucking she's a fucking I hate to say it, she's a snake emoji.
Oh no, I mean, all right, that whole thing is a terrible thing in politics, that she was just trying to ding her opposition.
She was grasping straws, yeah.
Right. So I don't think that's as like she was doing that, but like I read through, like, she had a plan for everything. Like I read through her policies on stuff, and like I'd be fine with it. Yeah. It's even her hedging, whatever it was, on Medicare for all, she still had a plan to get there. And I know that's not like the best thing, because after this pandemic, like anyone who's not for Medicare for all is a fucking idiot.
Yeah. But this whole argument of like, oh well, she would actually be better at going in there and getting stuff done. How do you get stuff done when you have absolutely no backbone and you feed burritos to your dog? Remember in Goodfellas when she's like, Mickey Conway, she used to spit when the agents came. She used to spit on the floor. She would spit on her own floor. I mean, that's how I feel about her. She put a burrito on her own carpet.
Yeah, I guess we're gonna disagree, because I don't see her as much of a snake as you do, because I think she's more of a, like, whatever you deem to be. You just think how her lying or hedging. It's more just in terms of politics.
You think she's playing the game? She's playing the game she's supposed to play.
But I like what she wants to achieve. Like there's a certain level of like, I obviously we don't want to return to like the status quo and normal. But when it comes to people who are in politics, there's a certain level of like, these people are like, everyone has these faults.
But if someone is pretending to be that, does it mean anything?
Are you asking in general or her specifically? Because I still saw her as authentic when it comes for a politician.
Let's take it. Let's take it on a smaller scale. If somebody says, hey, I want to start a dog rescue in this neighborhood that has a lot of stray dogs, and you find out they don't actually give a shit about dogs. They just did it as like a resume booster. Mm-hmm. Does that even mean anything that they said they wanted to do that? If they kind of had no intention of getting it done, they just wanted the optics of they just wanted the optics of being the person to do that. Or someone says, "Hey, I want to start a homeless shelter."
Are they saying are they saying that their views on things have changed since that blemish on their record or whatever it is? Like,
if they say they're going to do something and they have no intention of doing it, it's.
But how do you know that she had no intention? Like that's the thing.
Because look at her. Look at the other stuff she's done. Look at her character. Look at her willingness to capitulate on so much stuff.
On what stuff?
On everything that she
Like
claimed to stand for.
the biggest issue to me anyway, and this is just my opinion. Like looking at her, she's always been consistent on where the rot is
Uh-huh.
in government and the relationship between government and big banks and the finance industry. She's
Mm-hmm.
always been pretty consistent on that,
Uh-huh.
and that was more than anyone else besides Bernie was saying about it.
All right.
So it's and I feel like there's I'm saying like you don't have to love her, but I feel like the vitriol toward her is a little much. Like she was the second best,
Mm-hmm.
and to some people, she was the best because they had issues with Bernie. That issue aside,
Yeah.
but I
Just imagine
feel
one of
like
her
for
aides being like, Senator Warren. It turns out young people aren't into Harry Potter as much as they were 2 years ago. She's like, oh God damn it! I just spent 13 hours watching those fucking bullshit movies. Those movies suck ass, and I watched every single one. What are they into now? Polly Pocket. All right, let's fucking talk about something
yeah, you
else.
want to change gears?
Let's change
What if
gears.
so I'm
Let's talk
proud of you.
about alpha male Joe Biden.
What,
You what? You're proud of me? What?
I was gonna say I'm proud of you that you've been paying your bills with the Patreon alone, and but you've still been doing the moving jobs.
Well,
But
half.
besides that, like what have you been like without being able to go and perform every single night?
Yeah.
Like, are you writing? Are you watching stuff? Like what have you been up to?
Well, I'm podcasting every day, so that takes up a good 20 minutes a day. So I'm keeping real busy.
Yeah.
Keeping real busy.
Well, don't
Um,
forget the 5 minutes of preparation beforehand,
yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, yeah. Just the hour and a half that I say I'm going to do it and then don't. Um,
Right.
but yeah. What am I doing? I mean, I'm like, I mean, I guess I do miss stand up, but I'm kind of telling myself that like I don't know. There's no point in missing stand up because I think it's going to be like the last thing to come back. I mean, I've said this before, but
Right.
I think they're probably going to let the KKK meet before there's a comedy show. Um, so I don't. So I feel like when I see these comics who are like, I miss stand up comedy. Like, okay, well, you got to find something else because
Yeah.
people's grandparents are dying. Comedians like really just. I mean, since not having done it in so long, I'm kind of realizing like, I mean, as much as I love it, there's so much bullshit involved with it, and just like, it's just gross the the business of it and all the bullshit that you have to deal with. Um,
Yeah.
and then I got an email from like some comic who was like, "Hey, we're putting together like a fund for comedians who have missed out on gigs. If you guys want to like, and I got that email, a relief fund for comedians who don't have work anymore. And I was like, you know what? I'm fucking Republican now because this is just not this is like not sustainable. This is like like as much as comedy is hard, being a stand-up is hard. This is like a fake job, and it's a luxury to get to do this. And so, like, how do you even begin to
But
sort of
who is that fun for?
who is that for? Like,
Because who
it's for Sebastian. It's for Sebastian Maniscalco because he actually lost work. I mean, technically, right? Anybody from like Amy Schumer to some open micer.
well, right, like
can
the
attempt to,
people that would need funds for lack of stand up
yeah.
we're already doing well enough
We're
that
doing, and
if
we'll
they
be
haven't
okay for a little bit.
haven't saved any of it, fuck them. Like
Right.
I don't care about them.
Right.
And then the rest of them who are doing open mics or they were getting what, like $20 for a spot or something.
Yeah, there's such a big disparity between if you're working and if you're not, and yeah, if you're working, I mean it's kind of like it's almost like
wait, who I want to know more about who was running this and who, like, what was their plan to disperse them, like what's the union that
I mean, I
they're
don't,
gonna send it
yeah.
out to, or
I don't know, and I don't want to say who it was because I could tell it was like done with good intentions. like, hey, let's start a fund for comics who miss. But then it's like literally, I mean, there's maybe like 15,000 comics in New York. So how do you even, how do you judge like who gets the money? I mean, it just seemed like such an insane thing, and it
Right.
made
Is
me
it
be
someone
like,
who is it like if a comic is like, uh, oh well, my parents aren't sending me as much money as they normally do.
yeah.
Like, uh,
Well,
yeah,
another thing that's funny is
that's
like
messed
I
up.
I have friends who like were doing comedy full time and they were and who are good comics and everything, but and so
Hmm.
hopefully they save their money and have some to get them through however long this is gonna last. But it is kind of funny because I also have friends who have like literally no skills, besides writing their little jokey jokes and
But
performing them.
were they making their living?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know. It's gonna be funny when like I have to help them get a job in a warehouse or something. Because I just feel like say what you want about me, but like I'll always, as long as my body works, like I'll find a way to, and
Yeah,
I think you're like that. I mean, even though
yeah,
you have asthma and everything, but I'm
yeah.
watching like,
I may not have a useful body, but I'll
yeah,
put it to work.
yeah, I'm watching this guy who I kind of know, this guy who's a comic who like got laid off from his job, and he's making content about calling the New York State unemployment office. Like he's making
Uh huh.
like TikTok videos about calling the unemployment office and not being able to get through. And also it's
Uh
like
huh.
he has a kid, and I'm just watching these videos and I'm like, I'm so happy that I was raised to like have contempt for this, you know? Like I look at that and I'm like, you make me sick. You have a child at home and you're not going to go out and work like go be a man and go fucking drive a truck or something. What are you doing? You fucking loser.
Well, all right.
I mean, you right?
There's
I mean, we were kind of raised that way. Like, you do what you got to do. I remember mom going to clean houses when we were kids, right? Like, and we didn't know why she was cleaning houses, but when we were kids, I guess dad got laid off from work and she had to go clean houses. Um,
yeah,
and I don't know. I guess apparently they went through some kind of financial hardship when we were
yeah,
younger. But
but
mom
also at
said,
the
but
same
I don't
time,
remember.
like
Yeah,
at the same time, like you know,
I don't remember
I
ever
know it's
feeling.
I know it's not like I know it's not like an equal paycheck, but dad was making use of unemployment.
Yeah,
After the financial crisis, he had to make use of
yeah,
unemployment,
he was buying
and
Halliburton stock. Just kidding.
but like he,
But I'm saying like I never felt poor growing up. Like
yeah,
we're always pretty comfortable. But I guess we did go through some hard times here and there. But I think also like our grandparent or like our parents. I don't know. I just remember everybody in our family being like, there's always a way to make a dollar. So like
yeah,
I
yeah,
and I also I can only speak for myself. I'm not going to judge. Well, no, I can only speak for my demographic. I can only speak for other middle class white men, right?
uh huh.
So when I see other middle class white men crying that they can't get through to unemployment, I'm like, somebody should fuck your wife. Somebody's got to fuck your wife. I feel, they should- like, how do you,
Yeah,
how does your
I
wife look you in the eyes and say, "Oh yeah, you can put something of yours inside of me"? I mean, how does your daughter not just look at you with contempt and be like, "You make me sick"? I mean, literally, go do one of these jobs that you think is degrading. I mean, I've been moving. Like my friend Alex
yeah,
English, he was a fucking TV writer, and he's driving for Uber now. Or I don't know if he wanted me to say that, but he is. Like, there's like
yeah,
there's I don't know,
yeah.
man.
No, I mean,
There's jobs
if
out there.
like I was furloughed recently, and um I was lucky enough to get severance, but that covers like a month, and
Yeah.
I'm not going to count on unemployment to get me through because of all the issues that have been happening with even getting it in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still like looking for work, and push comes to shove, like I'll like I know, like I said, I'm like the immunocompromised person, but like I'll
Mm-hmm.
go work at Whole Foods. They got great benefits.
Do they?
Oh yeah, if you work full time,
I heard for part time though they got.
that's like the big point, the full time part, because
Mm-hmm.
Most people, they'll work like 35 hours and not pay benefits.
Why
But
don't we steal from Whole Foods first before we get a job there?
okay, yeah. Well, I got to leave the house first.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's also like I cut people some slack like initially. If
Mm-hmm.
you're laid off from work and you're looking for work
Uh-huh.
and you're making use of unemployment,
Uh-huh.
I don't begrudge anybody for that.
Yeah.
But the fact
But
that like if you feel entitled to it or if you feel like
yeah.
that's the only way to get through, yeah,
Well, that
that's an
being
issue.
being raised that way is also like a detriment because I remember Uncle Tommy being like, my whole life I've never been on welfare, unemployment. I always worked, and it's like, we were kind of raised that like taking any kind of handout is embarrassing and should be sort of like looked down upon. It's just something you never
Right.
do. But I think that like, come on, I mean, when you look at some of the handouts that fucking these corporations get or these banks get, it's a little bit of like,
Oh yeah,
okay, you people
yeah.
got fucking you got grifted big time.
Well, when I was talking to mom and dad the other day, and they were talking about how there are people on unemployment making more money now than than when they were working.
Yeah, that's a
And it's
crazy
like
thing too.
instead, well, yeah, all right, so that's an issue. But the fact that their first inclination is to go to the like how terrible that is that they're making more money doing that, shouldn't like the point be that people are making jack shit? Like the fact
No,
that
because they're
they can
gaming
go
the
like,
system and they don't want to work. It's deterring people from work. I mean, yeah.
but do you think the majority of people that are claiming unemployment right now like are just leeches? I don't believe that because
No,
an
they're
extra 20
brainwashed.
million people are applying for unemployment
Yeah.
that they lost their job, and it doesn't take much research to find all the corporate welfare that's gone on.
Yeah, yeah.
And to a certain extent, it's like, you know what? Fuck it. If they're gonna take it and bleed the country dry like that, uh, you could give everyone in this country $3,000 and
Yeah.
that do more good.
Yeah, yeah.
So uh, I, I don't begrudge people for taking it.
Yeah.
You can talk about whether they're worthy of it, but
Sure.
right now it's an unprecedented time.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about Joe Biden real quick because I made you read a couple articles, so I don't want that to go to waste. Um,
Yeah. Okay.
Speaking of alphas, am I right? Um, but
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so particularly I want to talk about this allegation. All I want to say is I listened to Tara Reid on a podcast. It was the Katie Halper Show. I'm pretty sure that episode's still available. All I have to say is if you listen to that interview with her and you don't think this allegation is credible, I really don't know what to tell you. If you think that this didn't happen to her after hearing that interview, that means she's like the greatest actress in the world because I don't see how you could listen to that interview and think that she's lying. So that's like the first thing I want to say. So I honestly believe
Yeah.
that what she's assessing happened.
Mhm.
Now I also feel a little betrayed by this stuff because I feel a little sold out because for the past 3 years we've been hearing so much about sexual assault and sexual misconduct, and it's been it's like it's not just a rhetorical thing of believe survivors or believe women. It's you believe women because most of the time in sexual assault cases, this is pretty simple stuff too. I'm not saying anything, but most of the time in sexual assault cases, you believe women because most of the time there's no witnesses. It's the accuser's word against the accused. There's very little evidence, and people have gotten away with this for a long time. And then also, like, to accuse someone of sexual assault or sexual misconduct, you're putting yourself in a very like vulnerable position. Sometimes to be murdered by Hillary Clinton's thugs. So,
Yeah.
which hey, it's comedy. This is a comedy podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're just doing parody. We're just
Yeah. Yeah.
it would
We
be
don't believe that.
it would be so amazing if something happened and they replaced Joe Biden with Hillary. I think I would make calls for her. Like I would phone bank for Hillary because I know she would lose again, but I want to say that I did everything in my power to stop it. To stop her from losing. Um,
Yeah.
I just want to say this. So I've read this. I sent you this article. I forget who wrote it, Barb or something. It must have been an older woman because she references Bill Clinton in the '90s and she references Monica Lewinsky and she says that like, yeah,
You're
it was
talking
a
about Linda Hirschman,
Is that who it was?
the one who wrote, I believe, Tara Reid, "I'm voting for Joe Biden anyway."
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So so she wrote that article. She references Monica Lewinsky. She says it was wrong for Gloria Steinem to basically throw her under the bus. I read that article by Gloria Steinem. You can find it on, I guess, if you search New York Times, Gloria Steinem, Clinton, 1998. You can find it, or maybe I'll link it. I'll link it in the description.
Hmm.
But Gloria Steinem basically says, look, like, when you weigh the options and Clinton's policies, they're very pro women, so why should we bow down to people who want him gone because his policies benefit women? Imagine if it was the same thing with environmentalist people or whatever. Anyway, the problem that I had with this article that she wrote was she goes, look, the Democratic establishment has said that they're not going to replace him. Like, she makes it like basically a non-negotiable that we have to move forward with this guy. And I think that was the problem that I had with the whole article. This idea that like we can't do anything about it.
Yeah, I agree. Like that's it's really frustrating. And your point earlier, like I totally agree that if the last 3 years has taught us anything, not just like blindly believing women, but giving their accusations credence.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and whether we're and just like what's been happening the last 3 years, this situation, it feels like it would call for him to step down.
You
And the
would
fact that it's not
think.
going to happen is frustrating. I agree. And
But
uh,
it's also because of who got second place. I think if it was somebody else, it would have been a little easier. But if there's calls for him to step down, I think the logical next step is to say, you got to give it to Bernie, and they hate him so much that
right, and but then immediately all of this anger about this is painted as, oh, you don't actually care, you just want Bernie to be the nominee. And like
But give us, but then
obviously
what
no
I'm
one.
saying, right? But I'm saying
Yeah.
like this idea that like the Democratic establishment, like the council has spoken, is so, and that there's nothing's negotiable, and that there is no plan B or there is no alternative to running a fucking senile rapist, um, is
but
kind of
that but
disheartening.
no, it totally is. And I'm like, I'm conflicted, and I'm not like, you and I are not the best people to be talking about it.
Because we're men.
No, not that we're. It's just that like, if
You want me to get Tom Perez on the
if
phone?
if Joe Biden sat down and somehow, like, this is all party machinations too. Like they wouldn't make Bernie the nominee anyway. But
Fine,
whoever
but
they
then
pick,
but then
like like
give us somebody. Then give us somebody who's not Joe Biden. If for whatever reason they're going to give that they can't give it to Bernie, I understand. But just like give us like an option, or give us another option or two. You know.
yeah, I think at at this point, people are the people who are not going to vote for Trump are a combination of, like, so dismayed, depressed, and scared about what would happen in another 4 years with him, that that they would give a pass to this
Mm-hmm.
at this time. And yeah, that's like, it's so shitty.
Yeah.
And I don't feel enough allegiance to the party with a capital P,
Yeah.
that like
And you shouldn't.
that it's gonna, all I can do is vote for, in the primary anyway, vote for
Mm-hmm.
the candidate I think is best.
Yeah.
Um, there is this like helplessness feeling to it that like I have to vote for this guy.
Yeah.
And
It's just a very gross way to do this.
oh yeah, of course. And it's frustrating too that like this is the guy that the party's gonna sacrifice their moral standing for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's not like someone accused Obama of this
Yeah.
and we vote for him anyway. Like, and not that that's warranted either.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just think that people feel like there's so much more at stake that this article that you were referencing, the woman who wrote this, I believe Tara Reid, I'm voting for Joe Biden anyway.
Mm-hmm.
There is this sort of thing of like the greater good. Um,
But fine, but don't act like this is the only option, because I think that's extremely disingenuous.
yeah, no, I agree.
All right.
It's yeah, it's real. It's shitty because
Yeah.
again, like this is the guy that you know we're gonna we're gonna go with, but uh, again, like I have so many conflicting feelings about this that I don't know if I can convey like any semblance of a stance
Uh-huh.
really, because the last 3 years I've been trying to be a better ally and to be a more
Right, but like, what the fuck
informed.
does that what does that fucking word even mean anymore? I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess you could argue that supporting Biden is not being a good ally.
Yeah.
Um, I think
Which just
the
seems like that's
really
a
frustrating thing,
bullshit. That's like a bullshit term at
the
this
really
point.
the really frustrating
I'm
thing,
an
like
ally.
I think the really frustrating thing is that there are people on our quote unquote our side that are discrediting Tara Reid
Mm-hmm.
and slandering her and saying like, oh, she posted something about Putin, or and it's like, you motherfuckers, like just have the balls to say that you're gonna vote for him anyway.
Yeah.
And to a certain extent, I like I'm obviously it's not great, but like I'm fine with that if you just say it. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's obviously the point. You don't have to slander this woman. You
Yeah.
don't have to paint her as a liar or a puppet. Like that's gross shit. Like just own
I
up to
probably
the
believe
fact
that though. I don't know.
you're gonna just own up to the fact that we all feel powerless to the party machine and we have to vote for this person
Mm-hmm.
in order to get rid of this fucking psychopath in office.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'd rather. That's what I'm trying to focus more on when talking about this stuff. That that ultimately that decision is conflicting and disingenuous
Mm-hmm.
to vote for him anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm appalled more by the fact that people think that if we do an investigation and there's something bad comes out and it hurts his chances to be elected.
Yeah.
Like to a certain extent, the country doesn't give a shit anyway. They elected Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Like to a certain extent, they don't give a fuck about like
Well,
do you like the whole point of them electing Biden or making Biden the nominee is that he's going to sway people who voted for Trump over to here. So does that even matter for those voters?
I just want to say another thing before we wrap up, because we're
Yeah.
at an hour. It's better to just do less time than But
Oh yeah, of course.
the fuck. Oh, so that grab him by the pussy tape in 2016, that came out right before the election, right? But they were sitting on it, right?
Yep.
Didn't they have that for a while? Okay, so and then Trump brought Clinton's rape accusers to the debate, which was, I mean, very funny, and sat them right next to him.
Yeah.
The ones that Hillary Clinton had murdered.
Had him murdered. Yeah.
Yeah, but oh wait, I'm sorry. Did I say Hillary? I didn't mean to say Hillary Clinton. We'll bleep that out. But so the point is that, like, when they have stuff like this, when they have these this dirt, they can choose when they release it and when they go to the press, right? It's not like they have to do it right when it comes out. Also, from what I understand, Tara Reid has been trying to tell this story for years, maybe for decades, for a decade or so, right? So the point is that, like, if there's more accusations, and there will be more, it's not going to come out right now. It's going to come out in October or like, you know, in the fall
Yeah.
when we are at the point of no return, after he's chosen a running mate and after, you know, everything has sort of when it's going to be harder to reverse this decision, right? And I want to call this right now. I would bet that there's going to be more accusers to come forward eventually. Just like they held on to that Larry King tape of her mother calling in.
Yeah, well, I think that was a matter of like it was unearthed somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think in some cases, I think the majority of the times, like the grabbing by the pussy tape, maybe someone knew that existed, but there was no like mention of it. But once it got in the hands of someone in the media, then it was like,
but the point is
they
they could choose when they were going to release it, right?
Well, who's they? You know, like I don't know. I don't know the facts of whether like how that tape was given to NBC and who found it or who reported it. Like
but
maybe
they can hold on to. There's probably stuff. What I would put money on is that there's stuff that they have right now that they're holding on to that they haven't released yet. I mean, to me that makes sense.
Yeah, but also if there is an accuser, all they need to do is get Gloria Allred or one of these other lawyers, and then they can just make a public statement, and then news media will pick it up and run with it.
Yeah.
You know,
no, I'm saying like Republicans though are going to release this.
Yeah, I mean, if they have it, but
no, but I think they do have something, or they will have something that is going to be.
But do you think that's gonna like change people's opinions?
Another
like,
person accusing him of rape?
Yeah, if they're willing to overlook one person accusing,
maybe not like party people, but like people, certainly people in you know, Michigan and Ohio and whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. Then you, yeah, I hate that like we're talking about the idea of like, well, people are gonna feel like they have to get out and vote.
Yeah,
like we still can't, like, we can't discourage people from voting against Trump.
Yeah,
because apathy is gonna reelect him.
Yeah. All right. Well, politics sucks, and it's run by pedophiles, and there's nothing we can do about it. So
yeah, next maybe I can go on another time. We'll
do a movie episode.
We'll
do a movie episode next time.
Yeah,
we should do that.
Okay.
All right.
Well, you know, I'm around. I'm available.
All right. Well, thanks for being here. I'm gonna wrap up, but stay on the line. All right.
Okay, you got it.
All right, everybody. That was Steve Recine. Thanks again for listening. Guys, like I said, if you can in the beginning, go on Patreon right now, patreon.com/sitdownpod. Pledge $5 a month, and you get a podcast every day. Sometimes it's me and Deb. Sometimes it's me and a guest, but we got a show every day. $5 a month. What does that average out to? That's like 25 cents an episode, I think. You know, bunch of free content for you people. And like I said, if you want, you know, the podcast, there's no more stand-ups, so the podcast is all I have. So if you want to shoot me a little Venmo, give me $2, give me $3, give me $1. Michael-Racine-2. I would appreciate that a lot. And thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.